He is part of the company.
Yeah. So as you remember, if you've been here before, it's a chance to ask any questions you might have of the production. I mean, it's probably one of the maddest shows we've ever had here. But I tell you, the energy and and I've seen it before, and I'm still laughing at all the madness and the costumes and the look and the period. It's just absolutely fantastic. So I'm really grateful, but I want to open it out to everyone else here, and please ask away your questions.
I can tell you a little bit about us. There's 5 of us. There's the 4 performers and myself, and we all met at university. We all met at Warwick, University of Warwick, a couple of years ago now, and then a couple of years ago. And after that, we formed the company. We came together and sort of inspired a lot of the time by sort of British comedies like The League of Gentlemen and Fawlty Towers and sort of stupid things like that, and horror movies and horror cinema. So yeah, that's sort of where our weird blend or brand of humour or theatre, I think, comes from or is inspired by. And this show in particular was sort of influenced a lot by detective movies, sort of spoofing detective movies, and then also there's sort of a small horror genre called folk horror in the late 60s and early 70s, sort of The Wicker Man and things like that, and Blood on Satan's Claw and stuff that really inspired the look and the aesthetic. Yes, there's us 5, and then we have a whole team of actual talented people behind us who make all of the costumes that you were talking about and the projections and the music. And so yeah, there are a lot more people sort of in the wings doing all the hard work.
Not literally, not during the show.
Can I ask how the writing process works with you guys? I mean, there's a lot of you. Do you just mess about, improvise, or
long and torturous and forever. We're getting better at improvising. We mainly write, actually sit at a table and plan out an entire plot. But this show, we've had to plan the whole plot because obviously there are secrets and lies throughout it that you have to pepper and shocks that you need to know.
It's great the way things bounce back as it went along. Something you'd planted, and yeah, all of that. It's fantastic.
And then we'd all go away, write a scene, come back and meet together, and basically read the scenes out. Pretty much pass to the left. You would edit the scene that you got past, and then you write a new scene. So by the time it's been on stage, it's been rewritten by everyone, probably at least once, if not twice. And we continue to rewrite it and talk about that. We change lines and then go back. We find out this and like that. So it's kind of an ongoing process. But it took us about a year to write this. We don't work full time on the writing. We have other jobs that we have to do in order to pay off with our lives. But yeah, so it takes slightly longer, but it is a lot of work. But it's very collaborative, all 5 of us do it together.
So you don't make enough money off of this to support yourselves?
We have at the moment, but I'm
yes.
sure.
So when it happens,
But it's not.
we're not probably 365 days.
Yeah. It's like when you're rehearsing, do you have to have other jobs or?
Yeah. We're lucky enough we associate with the theatre in Manchester, so 2 of us from Manchester, and we're associate artists at the Lowry Theatre up there, and they are really good at sort of giving us rehearsal space and time, and as much as the theatre can sort of give you without giving you cash, because no one really
No one's got no cash.
So, I mean, having said that, it has got a lot better. Like when we did our first show, The Boy King Pigs, which was in 2012, it was only just over a year ago that we all left kind of full-time work and moved into more part-time things, because this is now, it's grown to a point where it takes up chunks of the year, whereas before it was very much like we'd have to use all our annual leave to try and get to Edinburgh for a couple of weeks, or take a few days off and go and rehearse for a while. So it's definitely getting better. It's not as torturous as we make it.
It's fine.
How did it get from the point of it just being a hobby between friends to actually becoming a success?
Well, when we did the first, I think the key moment was when we did the first show, we just did it because we thought it would be something fun to do.
Yeah.
Because we'd all been out of uni about 3-4 years by then, and Clem had this conversation with the guy at the Lowry who really loved our first show was called The Boy King Pigs. It's based on a kid's book by Tom Baker, who was Doctor Who. And the guy who worked for Lowry just happened to be a really big fan of the book, so he said, well, I've got some money which we can give you to make the show. And And so we kind of did that for fun, but it went really well. And then they asked us if we wanted to be associate artists and kind of continue developing stuff off the back of that. And that's when we thought, okay, we'll take it a bit more seriously.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we all wanted to be doing it anyway, but
Yeah.
we never.
But we definitely
tried
know
to
into
do
the
it.
Boy Kid Pigs thing.
Yeah.
They would kick on.
So we've been lucky in that sense. But now it is our. We
How was the
essentially.
rehearsal process before you actually go on the stage? Because it's incredibly
This
tightly
is just so fast and
together and slick.
complicated.
Thank you. But this is probably what we're in our 60th show now. This one.
Yeah, we've done it a lot.
We've done the show a lot, so you're seeing a very polished version. But the rehearsals, yeah. So once we've got a script, we then go into rehearsals. We have bits like the historiorium at the end, where we're running around and saying things, which we kind of don't really script initially. We have ideas, and then we kind of work on the physical aspect of them. Do you want to take this? Because you're the outside eye.
Yeah, I was just thinking when we do write, we write a lot of the time as though we're writing for film.
Yeah.
I think our ambitions are sort of, I don't know, or our influences are filmic a lot of the time. So we'll be writing, or we'll be, and she's in the top floor of the house, and you crash cut down to the entrance hall, and he runs in and it's on fire. And so we write montage a lot of the time. And I think we did that with the first show, and then we sort of had to wrote the whole show, and then it's like, right, let's get up on our feet and rehearse this and try and stage it. And we realised that the speed at which we wanted action to be happening would have to be really, really slick. So we sort of come up with something, and then we just run it and run it and run it.
Yeah.
So yeah, to try and get that speed that we find satisfying to watch, and it sounds like audiences find it the same.
And I think we've only done 2 shows, but there's an aesthetic to our shows, which is the world that you have to believe in is kind of a heightened world in which there are werewolves and people don't notice all the ridiculous things that are happening, and we're all kind of fine with them. And so they're heightened characters, which means your physicality is heightened. So everything is kind of like a choreographed dance. So you watch it tomorrow, and you'll pretty much do exactly the same hand movements, the same head turns. That's partially because we've done it so much, but also because your characters have to be at that level to warrant the ridiculousness and to be able to say those lines and get a laugh without something like nobody would really say that. That's ridiculous. But they're kind of grotesque. The world is grotesque. Yeah. It's like an alternate reality, basically. So everything's very heightened, which then means you have to kind of choreograph every single movement.
Yeah, the first show was really, really heavily influenced by silent cinema and by sort of early 20th century, not to sound too ridiculous, but like German expressionist cinema, and that all relying on having no words and relying entirely on the body and movement meant that we pushed everything a lot more. So that just became sort of our language, and our stage language that bled into this show, I think.
I think the exaggerating, the way you thoroughly enjoy that, which makes us enjoy the really big movements and the facial expressions. As you say, I hadn't linked it in, but with the silent movie thing, I could see all that.
Yeah.
In how you've got the movements going and stuff.
Yeah.
And it really works.
Link some of the bits to specific films. There's one bit that stands out that links to another film, the genre of werewolves. And did you nod to certain favourite movies? I'm thinking Dog Soldiers.
It must be
not.